So welcome. It is Saturday. I definitely appreciate you logging on to Pivoting as a Creative. I'm Ari James. I'm here to give you some quick tips, introduce you to some cool creatives who will give you tangible resources and tools to make sure that you're making the best out of 2021, that you're not letting the pandemic stop you, and that, this year is going to be going for the record books. So today's agenda, I'm going to give you, like I said, some gems. We also have an activity planned later in the session. I'm going to give you the ground rules for that activity, and you'll have to do it out after the session. And then afterwards, final thoughts and the giveaway. What you guys came here for, that passion planner, is going to happen. It's going to go down. So like I said, I'm Ari James. I have over 10 years plus in the marketing and advertising and creative spaces. I've worked in a plethora of industries, from pro sports with the Oklahoma City Thunder to working with the United Negro College Fund, collaborating with Forbes and the Alt Summit, just to name a few. So all of the advice that I'm giving you today are things that have really fueled my career, have opened up opportunities for things outside of my purview, from, planning concerts with Grammy winners to, songwriting and all of the above. These tools that I'm going to share with you work, and the creatives that are on the line, they're going to give you some really great tips as well. So let's get started. This 60 minutes are going to go by really fast. So take notes, make sure you have a pen and a pad, or use your phone. And we're also recording this session, like I mentioned earlier. Sada is gonna repurpose this within their creative community. So the gems, these are some things to live by. It's a little over 20 little quick sayings, but I'm gonna give you some background so that you can apply these, and just so that you can be conscious of time. My little spill is going to be 15 minutes, but the resources with the creatives are going to last for about 40 minutes or so. And then the last minute wrap up is going to take about 5. So the first bullet point is you're in control. A lot of times we try to give our power to our creativity to other people who are gatekeepers, or what we perceive as gatekeepers. Being a creative is not a monolith. There's so many different professions that fall through that creative sphere. So whether you are interior designer, a cosmetologist, an influencer, a filmmaker, music producer, singer, songwriter, an artist, you are in control of your brand story, of your brand, and of your content. So make sure that you are intentional about what you're putting on as your digital footprint. That's on social, that's your website. As you're communicating to people, you can change the tide. So if you want to rebrand yourself, you can do that at any point in your journey. Make sure that you realize that power that you harness and really take advantage of it. The next bullet is to don't put yourself in a box. And that goes hand in hand with realizing the power that you harness. Sometimes we'll like to say, okay, I'm XYZ creative, and this is what people know me for, so I can't try something new. I can't pivot, I can't change, and that's a lie. So all of those voices of self-doubt, if you need to change your offering, your services, you can. Don't let yourself or people around you think that you are a one-trick pony. It's not true. Be confident and stomp out the imposter syndrome. So I'll share a personal story with me. I became a marketing director at a tech company in my 20s. And, fast-paced startup, imposter syndrome crept up and said, hey, can you really do this job? But you really have to be confident and know that in whatever arena that you find yourself in, that you're meant to be there, that you have the talent and the skill set and the portfolio to back it up. So anytime you hear those voices of self-doubt, really tune in and refocus your energy that you're capable, that you have the skill set. And if that means, reaching out to your mentor, reaching out to your tribe, taking new classes, whatever that is, Always find those resources you need to step in and step in with greatness. The next bullet says to add tax and don't be afraid to ask for more. You know, oftentimes folks, they feel like they have to compromise their wealth, whether that's negotiating a salary or, you know, with folks who are dealing with brands, you don't want to lose the opportunity. So when you come to the table, you think, okay, I'm just going to take less. Don't. These brands have the budgets. These clients have the budgets as well. So don't compromise how much you're worth. Always go to the table and add tax, and they'll tell you if it's outside of what they budgeted. But don't you take that away. Don't tell yourself no. The next one is monetize your talents. You know, within the pandemic, there's a lot of room to really sell and showcase your talents in new and innovative ways. I have friends um, who are like actors, and they had to re-envision their offering. I have other friends who are business owners of they're estheticians, and they offer products, and they've had to pivot. They've had to say, okay, I can't be on set like how I normally was. The work for some time for some, you know, actors did slow down, but how can I reposition myself and offer my talents in a new way? So that's ebooks, that's doing master classes and charging for it, that's selling merch. It's a whole gamut of things that you can do that you might have not had it at your disposal prior to the pandemic, but know that it's a testing period. Try new things. Write down your thoughts. You know, if an ebook can be as short as 15 pages, so don't say you can't do it. And later in this presentation, I'll give you a link to over 322 free or affordable resources that you can start using, from creative resources to website building. There's a whole new gamut of opportunities. So don't cut yourself short. And if you're not sure how to monetize and what a good price point is, look at your competitors. See what they're doing, how they're selling themselves, and know that you can do the same thing. Don't be afraid to, you know, tackle whatever barriers of entry you see. Go head first. This is your time. And just keep telling yourself, even if you don't believe it right now, sis, you can do it. Brother, I mean, it's a mixed crowd of men and women on here. And I want to be like, I don't want to, I know gender pronouns, but just as a group, I want to make sure I'm politically correct. Anybody out here can do it, okay? The other thing is try new things. That's the next bullet. So like I said, I'm echoing it. If it hasn't been in your tool set, somebody is an expert. You can ask them for advice, maximize your network, and get it done. Don't be afraid. Google is a friend, YouTube is a friend, and there's so many courses online, from Coursera to HubSpot to, you know, even Pinterest. They're doing an academy. So there's so many resources out here. Not having the support is not an excuse. You can't say the cow jumped over the moon, because it's not an excuse anymore. Next bullet, write down your ideas, plan and organize. This is the planner that we're giving away. A lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, it's all up here. Don't fall into that. This is the year that you're going to hold yourself accountable and be intentional. So write down all your ideas. And sometimes if you don't write it down right when you get it, you'll lose it. So you don't want to lose a $1 million idea just because you're being lazy. Write down everything, plan, organize, and get in the habit. The most successful people organize their time by hours and sometimes even minutes. And I'm not at that level of organization by the minute, but I try to hold myself accountable. That way you can look back at a year's time, a week's time, a month's time, and say, I keep saying I don't have the time. You will be able to see I'm actually spending time, you know, streaming on Netflix instead of getting my business together, instead of, you know, concentrating on my passion. I'm doing a time check just so I can make sure. I have to move pretty fast because I have 5 more minutes in this. Know when to delegate and ask for help. Don't think you can do it alone. Talk to strangers. I'm from DC. I just moved out to LA. I'm about to hit my 3-year mark. And one of the single things that helped me with my transition is talking to strangers. Now you have to be careful because it's a pandemic, but that has opened up so many doors. I have gotten so many job offers just telling people who I am and what I do, and they know it top of mind. Oh, you're Ari, you do XYZ. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Go to new events, go to new circles, tell people what you do and who you are, what you sell. It'll work out for you. Advocate for yourself is another bullet point. So make sure that you are pulling your own, like tooting your own horn, because nobody else is going to do it. You have to make sure that you're the loudest in the room, but make sure you have strategy behind it, because you don't want to be annoying, but make sure people know who you are, what your brand is about, and what you're offering. This bullet is key. Invest in others like you want them to invest in you. I hear so many people saying, why aren't people showing up for me? Why aren't they buying my product? And if you can't name at least 1 other to 3 other people that you've supported, don't be surprised when times come around and you're not getting that same level of support. So invest in other people. Let people know that you're down for their cause, because then they'll be down for you. I'm rushing through this, so my apologies, but no comparisons. Don't focus on anyone else. Run your race. If you're looking to the sides of other people, that'll get you caught up and lose focus and lose momentum. So always stay focused on your journey. The next one, timing is everything, and give yourself grace. So a lot of times, we put ourselves on this unrealistic timetable. I went to this Pandora live event and do a Lupa, I'm saying her name wrong, my bad, but she was saying she started out her music career at 15. Celine Dion started her music career at 13. This is just an example. If you're a singer and artist and say you're 30, don't say, oh, I can't do it anymore because they started so young. Focus on your journey. Focus on how you can get your music out here and make those connections. So ignore this timetable and realize that you set your own pace. Enjoy the detours. Really enjoy every stage of whatever journey it is. If you're, beta testing something, maybe you're in tech, enjoy that. Enjoy that learning period where you're doing market research and getting to know, different possibilities. Next bullet, network is your net worth. So this really is a wake-up call. You have to do a check of who you're spending your time with, because that will really dictate your net worth. If you're the brightest bulb in your friend group and your associate group, whatever that is, you need to be around energy that's also striving for greater goals. You need to be around artists that can give you examples of new techniques, of business owners who can open up doors for you, who can put you on. So really be mindful of that. If your friend group is not succeeding and excelling in the way that you envision for your life, it's time to make some changes in 2021. Next bullet, don't be afraid to get it wrong. All right. Now, this is huge. Getting it wrong is okay. It's learning from those mistakes and realize that if you ever have to start over, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. That is key, and that's somebody's word out there that you needed to hear. Next bullet is just start. Just get it done. Sometimes we can talk ourselves out of things. Ava DuVernay said this best. She did not have the experience and education that others did, but she decided in her 30s to just do it, just start it, and now look at Ray. This is Issa Rae's story as well. Her platform was YouTube. She didn't have the budget that a lot of these folks, who have these networks backing them did, but she just started and look where she's at today. Just start. Get plugged into networks and resources like Sada Collective, things that feed your spirit, feed your passion, feed your business. That will make all the difference. Take chances, make sure they're calculated. but take these chances. We're down to the last few. We're getting this done, y'all. Next bullet, whatever you do, do it well. Make sure that your reputation precedes you. When you step in the room, people already know that you're about your business and that you bring something to the table. So do whatever you do, make sure you do it well. Next bullet, identify trends. Don't be tone deaf. And that was something that a lot of folks in companies really had to be cognizant of in 2020 with the state of the pandemic, with the state of race relations in our country. You can't act like these major things don't exist. You have to be cognizant of it and pivot your offering to make allowances for this. So whatever you're doing as a creative, identify what's going on, what these trends are, what the next big thing is, and play out accordingly. Last three, you guys, embrace silence. This is so key to reflecting and really giving yourself a moment to pause. Section out a time in your day to have that silent moment where you can meditate, where you can pray, where you can have some alone time. And sometimes, because of the pandemic, you might be in a crowded house with people. Lock yourself in the bathroom, lock yourself in the closet, but give yourself time to think of that next big idea, to assess what you're doing. Second to last bullet, failure doesn't define you. Hear me. Failure does not define you. So it doesn't matter what happened yesterday, what happened last week, whether your business failed, whether you're not booking, whether, if you're an artist, you can't go to these platforms anymore to showcase your talent. Whatever the case is, know that it does not define you. And we started with this bullet that you're in control. So this is a good way to connect these dots. You are in control of your story and failure does not define you. Last bullet is it's a marathon, right? So rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. He made that clear. It doesn't matter where you start, what access, what equity comes into play. You will be able to reach your goals if you don't give up. It's about resiliency. I'm gonna use this example from TD Jakes. He had released the book a couple years ago about SOAR. And he was saying that some people just see the trees, they see these obstacles and they don't see the forest. Know that whatever obstacle is shaping you from greatness. So it's a marathon, y'all. And when you think about when something pulls you backward, like a bow and an arrow is pulled back by the bow so it'll go farther in trajectory. All right. So these quick examples, and then we're going to jump into these creatives. Examples to live by, Oprah Winfrey. She has this great story that she talks about working in Baltimore, and her producer or her manager, I'm forgetting what his position was. He told her, "Oh, you want to go to Chicago? Good luck. If you leave this studio, you're not going to make it far." And she had enough wherewithal within her being to know, I've learned all I can learn from here, and I need to leave and move on. So I gave you that example so you know when you have that inner thought, or I need to change my product offering, I need to do something different, I need to just get out of my environment that I'm in now to be successful. I need to move. I moved from DC to LA. Listen to that. Don't ignore it. The other thing she said that's very pivotal and that I hope you guys take with you is this whole idea is that if you find yourself in a situation where you look up and you're like, okay, how the hell did I get here? Because maybe you took a couple wrong turns, know that you can get yourself out of it. It's what is the next right move? And once you keep making right moves and right decisions for your business, for your life, you'll get in a series of wins and you'll get out of whatever funk, whatever stagnation, whatever decreased sales that you were in. What is the next right move? Key. 2 business examples that I want to share with you guys for motivation is both Amazon and Netflix. how they started versus where they're at right now, it's the same thing. What this talk is about the art of pivoting. Amazon started as an online book retailer. And I know a lot of you guys use them when you were in college, getting those books, trying to save $1 and not going to the bookstore. And they were able to pivot because they were cognizant of trends. They pivoted into a huge marketplace. I read this case study, I think it was in Fast Company, where it said the first 10 years of their business was in the red. And if you guys are unaware, the red means you're not profitable, right? You want to be in the black. So for 10 years, they had to prove their investors and the world wrong by saying, we deserve to be in business. Now look at them. They are a juggernaut. Their company is shutting down what people think is possible. Like they're just breaking the mold because they're pivoting, and they're pivoting in a timely nature. They're acquiring companies that work for them. They acquired Whole Foods. They're acquiring so many. I saw a list of companies they have acquired, and it's so long, it's mind blowing. The next one is Netflix. They did the same thing. Started out when Blockbuster was in business, renting out DVDs and mailing it to your house. People would think that's not going anywhere, but they do. They pivoted streaming, pivoted content creation. This is the same. Use these same themes and principles in your own lives. It's the art of the pivot. It doesn't matter where you start, it's how you finish. I already gave the example of Ava DuVernay about just getting started, but she also said something very powerful about the cloak or coat of desperation. And she said that as a creator, you never want to wear that coat of desperation because people can sense it almost like a dog can sense fear. You always want to be self-assured of who you are and what you bring to the table, so that people don't intimidate you. When you walk in the room, even if you haven't released any projects yet, you might be a new filmmaker or a new writer and you haven't released a book. You know your talent, so don't have that desperateness. Don't be too thirsty that you're just giving your talents away to the first person who come in line. Know yourself. And the last example, and then I'll switch to our great creatives, is Mark Benioff. And I know you're probably thinking, who the heck is this guy on this page? I had the great honor to have lunch with him a couple of years ago. He's one of the co-founders of Salesforce. Now, Salesforce is a huge company that does cloud technology and CRMs for some of the major companies out there, from State Farm to Louis Vuitton. Like this company is big. And he's a billionaire. And he said something that really resonated with me, and I want to share it with you. He said that he created something that was timeless and that everyone would need. So as you're thinking of your next project, your next product offering, how you're going to reinvent your music or redesign a space, how can you create something that's timeless and that everyone will need? All right, so let's get into it. It's time to meet the players, these creatives who are doing the daggone thing. I made sure to bring creatives from all over the country. Melony, she owns Port Life. She's based out of the DC area. So I tried to get geodiversity, just because sometimes people will say, oh, they're in a major city or they're in LA or whatever. It can't happen for me. And that's wrong. They're going to give you tangible tips and resources that they've used during the pandemic and before to make their dream a reality. We have Sam Hicks, Gregor Chan, and Jaren Collins. I'm going to back out of this shared screen so that you guys can introduce yourself. Melony, go ahead, start it off.
Well, hi, everyone. So my name is Melony Hughes. I am the owner and operator of Port Life brand. Essentially, it's a lifestyle and candle brand wrapped into one. Sometimes I kind of get sidetracked in regards to what was my why, right? And sometimes that's because selfishly I try to remove myself from the why. Like I'm giving to other people, but in reality, why I created Port Life Brand was because I was seeking something in a sense of fullness in myself. And really, I wanted to inspire other people to seek out those same things, or if they found it, whatever that it was that was fulfilling you, to be reminded to sustain it. And so for me, candles were, it was the tangible thing. Me as a creative, I like designing things. I liked designing tangible items and getting a little messy because candles can get messy. But that was the thing for me. And what we like to see our consumers, we like to see our consumers as vessels themselves, right? And so in order to, pour it forward, as I say, you have to be full in yourself. So we like to consider our consumers getting full and reminded via our candles. So
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Melony. And she's a great example of the balancing act. You want to tell people what your 9 to 5 is so that they'll know that, look, if you want to do this side hustle and transition into it being your main hustle, it's possible.
yes, it is a thing. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I was pondering on like what are things that people need to be aware of, and balancing is key, right? I'm not just a full-time employee, but I'm a full-time mom. I'm a full-time wife. And then I operate full-time my candle brand. So all of us, we wear a gazillion different hats in any given moment, right? And so working full time definitely, while it's exciting and I'm able to gain a lot of benefits from it because I operate in the advertising industry. I'm also a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. So my day job is, helping those agencies operate in a more inclusive manner, and I'm able to network and build a I would say, support system to leverage and be able to sustain my business as well. But it's definitely a balancing act because my full-time job, it definitely wears on you. You can lose, a sense of energy and urgency to work on your main or your business, but somehow you have to be able to kind of tread lightly where while you're gaining insights and building for someone else's business, that you're able to also build for your business as well. And one thing is take the time off. If you have time off, you're kind of living my dream. If you can take the time off from your day job, because especially if it's within your benefits, you've earned it. So take the time off, take a moment to kind of reset and get a breather and rejuvenate that energy and the creative juices and get those flowing, because it's necessary because you can easily get burnt out. So that's some of my main tips in regards to doing that.
That's perfect. Thanks so much, Melony. Sam, do you mind introducing yourself and like where you're located? And I know that you have said goodbye to 9 to 5 and you transition fully in the creative space. So these very perspectives are very helpful. Share your introduction story if you can.
Hello, y'all. I'm Sam Hicks. I'm from Mississippi, by the way of Texas, by the way of New York. Now I'm in Los Angeles. Um, but yeah, how I became a creative, working a 9 to 5 and just really just always having desire to, go to work and do what I love and get paid from it. So just always being curious and having that desire. When I was in Texas, I just stumbled upon photography, and it really like opened up a lot of opportunities that I could have never even paid for or dreamed of being in. So, after, continue to take pictures and take it more serious, I just said, I'm about to move to New York because I was in love with hip hop. And I just love that gritty vibe. And just like Nas was one of my favorite artists. So I moved to New York, and I got fired on my first day at work. And that's why I really just, I had the confidence in myself. And I just said, I'm just going to go on the ground and just like build my photography knowledge. And I interned for free for a lot of people that was doing great photography things. They were doing video, and I just really just built up me a reel, and got started there. And I worked in corporate probably a year and a half after I moved to New York for a TV network called named Cheddar. and it even built up my portfolio then because I was flying all over the world, interviewing some of these, like these CEOs that Ari was talking about in the beginning, like the CEO of Ford, Microsoft, really big CEOs, and they really gave me the confidence. And then I kind of leveraged that, raised some capital, bought some film assets, and then moved to LA last February. So.
And Sam he's being modest, so he's a filmmaker, you guys, in case you weren't following his story. And he's had his shorts featured on Hallmark's Faith and Family Up TV, right? And on Amazon. So he's going to give you some gems about how to transition and really live your dreams. So, Greg, do you mind introducing yourself? And then once all of our creatives introduce themselves, I have a lightning round of questions where they can jump in and just answer them.
Okay. Hey, my name is Greg. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I had to ignore a phone call. Yes, my name is Greg. I'm a music producer, pianist, drummer, mixing and mastering engineer, everything like that, all of the above. I started doing music. My journey into being creative was I played drums and piano at church and stuff like that. And so just kind of I did the traditional college thing, and it didn't quite work out, just because the artist side and the school side, sometimes they don't get along. So I went to do that. I opened up a recording studio, and I've just been producing ever since. I'm in Los Angeles right now, but I'm between Indiana and Los Angeles. I make beats. Sorry, I keep saying but I make beats. I've worked with Liam Payne from One Direction, Capitol Records. I did a commercial for McDonald's. I work with cheat codes out here. And so, yeah. So it's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Greg. And then Jaren, you're the last of our creatives, our quartet to round it out. Feel free to share your story and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jaren Collins. I own JCI Creatives. We do photography and video production, working in the branding space. And so I actually got started a little over 10 years ago when I was in college. I went to the University of Oklahoma. And while I was there, I noticed that there was a disparity in African Americans and images. And so I decided to take the money that I made from graphic design. I put that towards some gift cards that got me a camera that fell off a truck. And I got out there and started shooting pictures at parties and doing party pictures, graduation photos. That turned into people graduating, getting older, turned into me doing weddings, and then eventually moved into branding work. And so after I graduated from grad school, I ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, where I'm currently based, working for a corporate company that I'm not going to speak out loud because, but ended up working for a corporate company for a little while and decided that I wanted to go back to my first love, which was creating. And so I started doing photography again here in Dallas, Texas, and I've been doing it full time for about 6 years now. I'm in love with it. It's got me a lot of opportunities. And so I've had the opportunity to work with anywhere from the American Heart Association to Toyota and even President Barack Obama. And so this is one of my favorite things to do, of just being able to do storytelling with different people throughout the world. And so I feel like that's my purpose and passion in life. So thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, you guys, for introducing yourself. Now, this is where the fun begins. It's the lightning round of questions. So please be as honest. And if there's anything that you forgot to say during your introduction, this is also your time. I want you guys to share, how has your company changed and how you're able to pivot to really connect with your consumers and your clients during the pandemic? What are some tips that you can give folks, and what are some examples you can share?
I'll kick off. Because I think, like myself, I'm a product-based business for one, and I have talked to a number of other business owners where the pandemic has significantly impacted their supplies and being able to connect with various suppliers, and on top of that, shipments. So while, the pandemic, I think it's twofold, because we saw some businesses grow significantly, we saw some businesses burn, and we saw some rise from the ashes. And I think that is all really connected to how perspective and pivoting in general. So for me personally, I had to accept some losses, right? But really and essentially, it was just kind of falling forward. Accept some losses in regards to suppliers. I had, I was unable to, I had things go out of stock, or, I've struggled with replacing suppliers. But I just had to kind of stay inspired. And a lot of the things that you mentioned early on, Ari, are just so critical to just moving forward and just not getting stuck. And also continue to research and monitor what's going on in the market. What are people's interests, and how are things changing, and what can I do that's innovative, and also be able to stay in touch with the consumers. So I'm actually in the process of not necessarily rebranding, but adding more products to my line that are more appropriate for one, my authentic self, and also something that I feel like is serves a dual purpose for my consumers. So really just taking a step back to look at the consumer needs was a big thing for me. And I'm a one-woman show, so that's another thing. So if you're working on your own, essentially, even if you have, you have your supporters and the people in the background that are helping you, but I mean, if you're the one processing orders and making your product, and to your point, trying to make sure that you're pushing out quality experiences, it can be a lot. But just staying inspired and moving forward. There's her name is Angel. She's with the Spice Suite here locally in DC. And I was listening to her, and I'll never forget, she made a statement that perfection is a continuum. So it's not really a destination. So you're just literally going forward, and just starting is the first point. Starting and pivoting, and however it ends up, it's okay. Just keep going.
I'll add to that. Yes. During the pandemic, I am a musician, obviously, and so live playing came to a halt. So what I did was, I have a studio. So what I did was just said, okay, this is how much I make from live playing. So like, how much do I need to make at the studio to kind of replace that? And so getting on websites like soundbetter.com, marketing my Instagram sales towards, artists looking for producers. I would just say, for me, it was cool to learn how to make money more than just on the stage, do some TV. I'm here doing a movie, just diversifying your portfolio.
That's awesome. Jaren or Sam, have you had to pivot in any way during the pandemic?
Yeah, I definitely have. So I think coming into this year, I came off of one of my best years in business. And so I had a bunch of high hopes coming into 2020, thinking, oh, this is going to be even better. We're going to go even higher, had the vision in mind. I know you said write it down. I don't typically do that, but had the vision in mind, was ready to roll. And then by March, I had literally, half of my clientele, if not more, fall away, right? I watched thousands of dollars just evaporate like a Thanos snap. So it was very interesting to see that dynamic. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like in the beginning, I had a lot of fear, centered around that, because even as a man, a lot of your masculinity, a lot of who you are comes from your ability to be able to provide, comes from your ability to be able to sustain. And so I felt a lot of, well, what next? Well, what do I do? And so I did something then that I typically do to help me pivot, but also find new products. And I started throwing darts at the wall. And so I typically will sit down and think through different ideas. Okay, well, maybe I can teach. Well, maybe I can get a part-time job, or maybe I can do this. And then what I'll do is, instead of overthinking it, I'll just start doing it and see what sticks. And so it was, okay, I'm going to do retouch classes. Okay, so let me put a retouch course online and put that out there and see if somebody picks it up. And if somebody picks it up, then I sold one retouch course. So now I go advertise it again to sell another and sell another. And I use that money to go and kind of reinvest so that I'm getting out in front of the right people, to the point where now I'm going to end up launching a separate brand just to do educational tools and e-courses, right? Because I don't have to necessarily be in front of somebody. And so it's finding different ways to make sustainable income from the couch, from lessening, being in front of people and being interactive. And then also another thing that's helped me, which was something I had never done before, was early on in the year, I had signed on to be a retainer contractor for a couple of companies. And so they sustained me through that early period of the pandemic because I was doing consistent work with them, kind of recurring work, and had an opportunity to really be able to connect and actually, work with them long term, which I thought was incredible. So those are two things that I would say, plan for the long haul. You never know what's going to come. So as a creative, retainer business is really incredible to have, because at any point in time, everything can be washed away. And then you're sitting at home looking at, well, what I do. So it sounds cool to be freelance until you need health insurance and you need your rent paid. And then you're looking around like, well, what happens next? You don't have a boss, yes, but you also don't have a steady income. So retainer business is a huge cheat code of making sure you have at least one or two checks that are going to come in consistently. And then also, keep trying. I hear that a lot in social media, like where influencers will put out content to see what their audience gravitates towards. It's the same in business. Put out a product, put out a service, see what people buy. If they're buying it, put out more of it and then scale it that way. Use that profit to go in and scale into something else.
Sam, what about you? Thanks so much, Jaren.
Well, I would definitely have to attest to Jaren. I had a lot of anxiety when the pandemic happened. I quit my job in January and I was in LA in February. And at that time, I was getting ready to buy that asset I was talking about. It was called a Ari Alexa camera. I spent $30,000 in February. Well, probably in March, the beginning of March. I spent $30,000 cash on a camera, and literally 2 weeks later, Hollywood shut down. So I was just so optimistic about, my new journey being an entrepreneur. And I just really thought the pandemic was I was like, oh, it's not going to be long. It's going to pass. And man, it didn't, as we still on this Zoom call right now. So, probably after a month and a half, I had to just really go back to Texas and regroup. That's where my home is. Jaren, shout out to Dallas. That's where I'm at too. So I really had to go back and regroup. And at that time, I guess, I really had to just start to lean on my faith. And luckily, the two films that I had already produced a year prior, they was getting ready to release, and we was doing distribution deals. So that gave me momentum. So that's one thing I would tell you to find out and figure out a way is to find momentum. If you start to find momentum in your life, it increases your energy. You know what I mean? Like you start to have appreciation, gratitude, bliss. So once I started to release those films, which Ari helped me on a marketing tip, I released 2 films in the month. I released one film in July and I released another film in August, and got paid from both of those. And then I moved back to LA. And really, I started to, market hard on the internet, just really, Instagram, emails, Facebook, all these new websites that popped up because of the pandemic that enabled people to, market, LinkedIn, anything, however, I'm DMing everybody just to really just to share my services and just, just to collaborate, at least, have Zoom calls with these people. And eventually those things started to manifest. Those contacts that I was reaching out to back in March, they manifested. Actually, I'm doing a music video tomorrow with somebody I met in March of this year. So I would say get momentum and always be like selling yourself, putting in your pipeline, even if you sad right now, you going through anxiety. Just always find out a way to always, continually reach out to people and just have appreciation for where you at. Because honestly, economics probably got messed up, but a lot of people didn't even make it to 2021, so that's at least something to be appreciative of. Like you still got your health, you know what I mean? Like, that's just one thing. So, That's what I would say. Get momentum and always continue to sell and increase your pipeline.
That is so timely. A lot of people lost loved ones and friends. Being grateful that you're alive. If you still have life and breath in your body, that means you can still leave a legacy. You can still change somebody. You can still show the world your talent that only you have. The next question in the lightning round, I want to be cognizant of time and just warn people we might run over about 5 to 10 minutes, so please just bear with us. The next question is, what is some advice that you wish you would have known at the start of your career? And also, who is your creative inspiration?
I'll go. I'll just say some advice. Man, I ain't this is me. This is me telling my inner self. I'd be like, F what people think about. Like, you know what I mean? This what I be telling myself. Like, on this creative journey, especially being an entrepreneur, you have so many haters and naysayers and just people don't have the vision that you got. And man, like, early on, I would let these people influence me, and influence, my decisions because, just because they don't have a vision, just because they can't, dream as big as I've dreamed, and you know what I'm saying? And I've been blessed and I got a testimony. So, they'll hate on you. And until you build up that confidence in yourself and that faith in yourself, you will let these people like put doubt and fear in your mind. And like one thing that I just wish early on that I knew I could just say, F y'all, I'm going at the mine. You know what I mean? Like that's all that matters. I'm going at the, and then like find positive people that we will reinforce like your vision. You know what I mean? Build your community of people who will support you and bear your burdens. You know what I'm saying? On this entrepreneur journey, because it's definitely a roller coaster. I mean, you might be having a high at 12 o'clock and at 3 p.m. it might be the worst time of the day, of the week. You know what I mean? That's just how it is being an entrepreneur and a creative. So I would say just like build a community around you and just develop that faith and that supreme confidence in yourself.
I'll go ahead and piggyback off of what he was saying to some degree, because imposter syndrome is so real, and too often we assume that we don't deserve to be in a particular space, and those thoughts are just kind of fueling us. And I've had to literally sit down and tell myself, I don't understand. Why are you feeling this way? Don't think like this, and and fuel with something that makes you happy. Whether it's maybe you need to go out and just find another hobby, just being happy and showing up as your authentic self. And that's actually been a journey for me as well, like finding my authentic self and not being afraid of showing that authentic self to other people. In addition to that, I think something that I've learned is that the market isn't oversaturated. Coming from a candle business, and now expanding to other products, but what someone else's product does for a particular group of people, a target market, my candle is going to do something completely different for another set of people. And that's completely okay. And just owning the fact that there's some greatness and individuality about what makes my particular brand special. So just knowing that it's not oversaturated. And then something else, my husband probably would kill me if I didn't mention this, but a business plan. I didn't start my business essentially with like a traditional business plan. Like I was operating in a learn as you go type of mode. The creativity was fueling me, and however it worked out, which is fine. But there definitely is some power in writing things down and being able to manifest from what you wrote down. And what I've been learning is it doesn't have to necessarily be, full sentences or anything of the sort. Just write it down, and then it becomes, a reality for you. And then you can, learn about business plans. I think you should have someone that you go to. My husband, he owns a business. He owns a business developing firm, Entrevation. You can go check it out at Entrevation. But he can help with that, scaling businesses and business ideas. But I guess maybe I was, being no, I don't want to do that because that's not my thing. But it's important, and just learning from other people. I'm fueled by my community winning, quite honestly, and supporting others. During Black Friday, I just sat down and was like, let me just go through and support all of these people, whether they're supporting me or not. It's just being a part of that that ecosystem of just support, and somehow it'll come back to me.
I want to jump in and say that I think that one of the biggest things that I've learned is to always have a mentor. I used to, you would hear that or whatever, but you really wouldn't like do it. But then it's like, I have a few mentors now, and they have saved me like thousands and thousands of hours and like thousands of mistakes, thousands of dollars. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, just having them there kind of give you a coach, be a coach for you. They can save you 5 to 10 years off your journey. And then one last thing to add on is to don't let your budget like kill your momentum. You know what I'm saying? Like, be realistic about sorry, I'm reading this thing. Thank you. Being realistic about like your budget. So like if you have, let's say you have $1,500 to spend on a song, right? Like, don't be discouraged that don't try to like compare yourself to Beyonce's like $1 million budget that she has for her albums and her videos and her visuals. I'm working on a movie right now, and the guy, he's over budget, like he's ran out of money, but he's just like, but I want the movie to look like this. And I was like, dude, hey, bro, this is where you are right now. You're doing the best you can with what you have right now. Like, wait till more money comes in. So that's all I was just saying, like, just do the best you can, but like, be realistic about like, don't be discouraged that you don't have, the millions of whatever and the lights and the cameras and the big everything else to compare, because you're just going to go down a rabbit hole. So that's what I wanted to add.
That's key. Jaren, any thoughts?
Absolutely. Charge more money. That would be my advice to myself. Let someone else tell you no before you tell yourself no. It was a lot of times that when I was doing work or when I was working with clients, I started my business for the first time out of college. I got an office just outside Campus Corner and worked there for like 6 months. And there was a lot of times where I was like, oh, I can't work here. Or, oh, they wouldn't want to work with me because I'm fresh out of college. What do I know? Like, you are valuable. You're worth it. And what you don't recognize on any level of creatives with any level of business, just like my man said, like, when you have a product, you can meet your client at any level. So there's a client for the beginner who you're going to work with someone else who's starting out. There's a client for the expert who you're going to typically work with those people who are trying to get an expert level. But your product and your pricing should match what clientele you're meeting at. And for me, like, I was afraid to go talk to a lot of corporate companies when I was younger because I was like, I'm a 20-something-year-old nobody. Like, why would they pay me the money? And then when I got a little older at like 27, really no different from when I was 23, then I was going and sitting down with Toyota and they were like, oh, okay, here's a check for you, right? So that's telling you to have the confidence to say, like, this is my price, and then stand back and wait. And let them do the thinking, let them do the talking. Because 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is they're going to say, okay, that's perfect. Here's your check. Or they're going to say, it's a little too much for me. And you pivot, which is why we're on this call today. So you have to give them an opportunity to let you in the door. Or if they close that door just wasn't for you. Like, but that's some information I would love to tell myself because I feel like I'd be a little further along if I knew that.
This is awesome. You guys dropped some gems. And I want to thank you guys for sharing your insights. Before we move to the next segment with the giveaway, just remind everybody what your name is, what service or business that you have, and how they can find you.
Yes, I am. So I'm Gregatron. On Instagram, I'm Gregatron Music. Facebook, Gregatron. You can visit Gregatron.com, and you just send me a personal message on any of them. I'll put it in the group too. But just send me a message, anything you need, songs, vocal tuning, beats, whatever you need.
And to access my candles and other products that are relaunching in February, go ahead and go to our website to sign up for some updates. So we're at www.poured.life, and you can go to my Instagram, that is at Poured Life Brand, and I'll go ahead and throw it in the chat as well.
I'm Sam Shotty. That's my Instagram, samshotty.com. I'm a filmmaker, specifically a DP, but I produce as well. So peace. Thanks for having me.
And my name is Jaren Collins. I put my info in the comments. JCI Creatives is the company. And then Mr. Collins with 2 Z's is the personal brand. Make sure y'all check us out if y'all need any kind of branding. If you want to learn a retouch course, if you're trying to learn how to do some quality photo editing, check that out at our website, jcrcreatives.com/retouch. Would love to educate and teach. And if y'all need anything from me, let me know.
I appreciate you guys, and we're powering through you all. This hour sped by. I hope you guys are learning some great tips. I'm going back into this PowerPoint. Let's see. My computer, do not act up now. Let's see what happened if I can't get everything back quickly. If not, I'm just gonna roll with it. So we're having some technical difficulties with my computer. But the thing that I wanted to share with you guys was a quick audit that you can do on your own. And it's a SWOT analysis. So this is where my marketing and advertising background is coming into play. Ask yourself these hard questions as we start the year. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? And what are your threats? Be honest so that you can grow. When anything feels uncomfortable, that means you're growing, and embrace that growth. I will make sure that this presentation is available so that you can see how to lay out a SWOT and really own your growth. And maximize your strengths and talents, work on those weaknesses, and utilize, all your resources to really just take charge of these opportunities. The 3 Qs, which is the other activity, I'm going to verbally give you these questions. There are 3 targeted questions to really get yourself to thinking. Am I operating in my passion? Am I really utilizing my talents? These questions are: 1, if I knew I could not fail, what would I be doing? If I knew I could not fail, what would I be doing? That's the first question. The second question is, if money was not an object, what would I be doing? A lot of times we have this playbook in our heads of, oh, I can't do this because I don't have this money. Oh, this costs too much. Take that out of the equation and be honest with yourself. If money wasn't an object, what would you be doing? And then the third one is, if you only had 6 months to live. Now that question about if you only had 6 months to live, what would you be doing and who would you be spending your time with? It's really supposed to create a sense of urgency. We always live for tomorrow. I'll put it off to tomorrow. I'll do this tomorrow. And we're just delaying the inevitable. You are great. You can reach that point of greatness right now. So like I said, I will provide this slide deck so you can see these visuals of doing the SWOT analysis for your personal audit, of asking yourself these 3 charged questions to make sure that you're really living in your talent and in your dream right now, today. Like I said at the beginning, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday or the day before, it matters what you're doing today. And a great example of that is Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. He spent his last days in his talent acting because he knew he could change lives through his talent. So, really think, am I doing that? Am I showcasing my creativity the way that I always wanted? And if not, today is a great day to do that. Giveaway time. This Passion Planner was donated by Passion Planner. If you're not familiar with that company, They offer great resources to stay organized. You're asking, how can I win this? So go ahead and follow Sada Collective and DM them what your thoughts were about this session. Was it helpful? You know, are you interested in being a part of their creative community? Like them and send them a direct message, and we're going to randomly select one lucky viewer to view that, to win this planner. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is a quotable from one woman that I love to get inspired by. Her name is Marie Forleo. And the visual, the last slide, was a link to her over 322 resources that creatives and business owners can use. We'll make sure that you get this PowerPoint so you could have that visual and access that link. But her quotable is that everything is figure outable. It doesn't matter what stage you're at in your creative process, where you're at in your business journey, if you had to file for bankruptcy, if you're getting unemployment right now, it doesn't matter. Own your talents as a creative and embrace that idea and concept that everything is figure outable. You can find a way. Utilize your tribe. They have resources. 6 degrees of separation. Somebody got to answer. Somebody got to plug. Somebody has an opportunity. Somebody has an enter the door you want to walk through. So I want to thank you again for joining our session, Pivoting as a Creative. I'm Ari James. I appreciate you giving me 1 hour of your Saturday to joining us in this community on Zoom. Feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram handle is I am Ari James, or I am _Ari James. And if there's anything that I can help in your creative journey, I'm here to do so. Thanks so much. And I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ari.
You're welcome. Bye, you guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.